For years, we've seen the Brown family empire crumble. What began as a fairy tale of polygamy has dissolved into a dark, cautionary tale of narcissism, financial catastrophe, and shattered relationships. We believed nothing could shock us anymore. The brawling, the gaslighting, the emotional admissions, the acrimonious breakups. But we were wrong. What happens when the cameras shut off, the TLC checks stop arriving, and the weight of their self-made downfall finally lands? You're about to see. Because just when it seemed Kody and Robyn Brown had reached rock bottom, they picked up a shovel and dug even deeper. Here comes the most pathetic plan so far. A hawk digital panhandling stunt that not only failed, but also went viral for reasons exactly opposite of what one would have hoped. Culminating in an utter public embarrassment, here was the web-begging bowl of a toppled patriarch and the last queen holding on to him in desperation. The title itself is enough to give one shivers. Help a patriarch rebuild. Rebuild what? Then, the family he destroyed, his trust he squandered, or the money he and his favorite wife spent on statues, and a mansion they couldn't even pay for. This wasn't a call for assistance. It was a public announcement of war against reality itself. All right. Reality recap. Before we pull the curtain back on this fiasco and expose all the details, I need you to play your part. If you are prepared for the raw reality and are one of a kind insider analysis, click that like button now. It informs YouTube that you want this content, and if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe and tap that notification bell. You won't want to miss a moment of how this heartbreaking scam was revealed and shut down for good. Let's dive in. To understand the scope of this delusion, we must unpack their GoFundMe page bit by bit. This was not only a ask for money, it was a narcissism manifesto. It was Kody and Robyn's last ghostwritten push to manipulate a narrative that has been out of their control for years. Officially, the campaign was listed as being started by a family friend, a tried and true grifter tactic to provide a thin veneer of distance. But both our sources and the very language of the plea itself reveal another truth. The goal, a shockingly bold $150,000. Not for medical bills, not for a disaster relief effort, for what they boldly called the Patriarchal Rebuilding Fund. The sheer arrogance is breathtaking. Now, let's look at the description. I'll read it word for word, because every sentence drips with manipulation. To our loyal friends and supporters, it is with a heavy and humble heart that we address you today. As most of you have witnessed through a highly edited and slanted television show, our family has been relentlessly assaulted. Kody Brown, a devoted father and a loving husband, has had his legacy wrecked by a tainted system and the unfaithful behaviors of a few that decided to break covenants. He has been made out to be a bad guy when all he has ever wanted to do is bring his family to the celestial kingdom. Robyn Brown, his loving and devoted wife, has stood with him through unimaginable tribulations. She has been most unjustly vilified, accused of being a homewrecker, when she has never been anything other than a peacemaker. They have ridden out a tide of public vitriol together, attempting to shield their young, tender-aged children from the venomous lies being circulated on the internet. Now, they must endure their biggest test so far, because of constant lawsuits to preserve their name and assets, and a catastrophic and unexpected loss of revenue. They are on the verge of losing it all. The very house in which their children put their heads to sleep at night is in jeopardy. They are not requesting a handout, but a hand up. This money will be used for necessary legal fees to battle back against the injustices they've suffered, and for necessary living expenses to offer a stable home for Solomon and Ariella. Each dollar is a prayer. Each gift is a vote of trust in a good man and his family, who have been unfairly harmed by the world. Let's rebuild what was so cruel taken from us. God bless. Unbelievable. Let's deconstruct this masterclass in gaslighting. First, the beginning. Heavily edited and biased television program. That is straight from the Kody Brown playbook. Chapter 1, Blame the Edit. For close to 2 decades, this show was their primary source of income. They accepted every TLC paycheck, they signed every contract. They lived openly on camera, but now that public opinion has shifted against them, suddenly it is biased. This is narcissist's prayer in textbook form. That did not happen. And if it did, it wasn't that bad. And if it was, it is no big deal. And if it is not my fault. And if it was, I didn't mean to do it. And if I did, you had it coming. Kody and Robyn are mired at step 4. It is not my fault. It is the fault of TLC. Then comes a corrupt system and disloyal actions of a few who abandoned their covenants. Let's translate from Kody speak to English. Corrupt system is the court of public opinion, which has finally called him out, and disloyal actions of a few. He is giving the finger to Christine, Janelle, and Meri. Notice he doesn't refer to them as wives or even former partners. He stages them as apostates who renounced sacred agreements, redefining their fleeing from his emotional hold as some sort of spiritual infidelity, a feeble attempt to guilt anyone still on the fence. In his account, he isn't a failed husband. He is an apostate victim. Then Robyn's chapter, the unfairly maligned peacemaker. A peacemaker. Anyone familiar with sister wives knows better. We have receipts. We've watched her use tears as weapons, bend situations to her advantage, and cut Kody off from the rest of the family from the very beginning. Calling her a peacemaker is so outrageously false, it borders on parody. She wasn't smoothing over conflicts. She was a colonizer who entered a fragile family ecosystem and destabilized it. She didn't construct bridges. She constructed walls of protection around Kody and declared it their inviolable kingdom. And then the appeal to protect tender, aged children. This is the bottom card in the deck. They invoked Solomon and Ariella as emotional buffers in an appeal for money. It is stock manipulation. Hear of the children, the same children they've kept parading around on reality television, the same children whose future savings probably went down the financial black hole created by their parents' incompetence. But the golden nugget. We're not asking for a handout, but a hand up. That is straight-up grifter verse. It is panhandling on the internet with a side of self-worth. A handout is something to be given to the undeserving, the slackers. A hand up is something to be offered to a great temporarily humbled patriarch, who simply requires a little start to reclaim his seat. By now, you may be thinking, are they actually that poor? At first glance, it might sound plausible. The show's prospects are uncertain, the family is broken, and their sole sources of income seem to be cameo shoutouts and Robyn's constant, about-to-launch jewelry business, my sister wife's closet. But that is where our investigation comes in. This GoFundMe wasn't initiated by a slow-burning demise. It was set off by a single devastating occurrence, a secret they were intent on keeping under wraps. As reported by people close to the Browns and Flagstaff a couple of months ago, with TLC funds running dry and Kody's ego requiring a reboot, he spent impulsively. Seeing Janelle thrive in her RV, becoming independent and gaining popularity, pushed him over the edge. He couldn't allow her to win the off-grid story in his head, so with Robyn's complete approval, he wanted to outdo her. Instead of buying a modest fifth wheel, sources allege Kody put down a massive payment on a top-tier 45-foot luxury motor coach. We're talking a Newmar King Air, the kind of land yacht that rivals the price of a home. Whispers place the cost somewhere between $750,000 and $1 million. They allegedly funded the rest, believing they could start a glamorous YouTube travel show or even land a spin-off about their adventurous lifestyle. The venture was even tagged Patriarch on the move, a makeover attempt to reclaim his reputation as a fearless leader. But the loan was dependent on estimated TLC revenue. When news hit that the network was cutting episode orders and pay for any potential future seasons, the loan company purportedly called in their note. Now they were stuck with a car they couldn't handle and had forfeited a whopping down payment. This, insiders maintain, was the disastrous financial blow they were desperately trying to recoup, a self-inflicted injury created by jealousy and hubris. And it didn't end there. This mistake fell on another financial time bomb. The balloon payment on the Shira Chateau, Robyn's Coyote Pass estate. Public records indicate their mortgage had an adjustable rate of 5 years. With interest rates through the roof, their monthly payment was about to jump into impossibility. Foreclosure was threatened. So the GoFundMe wasn't really about paying groceries. It was a last-ditch Hail Mary to pay for a reckless expense item of luxury and head off the bank taking Robyn's castle. The legal fees cited, probably due to threats of suing the RV dealer or lender, another attempt to try to escape responsibility for their own bad decisions. This puts a different spin on things. The campaign was not a desperate cry, it was a calculated manipulation. They were not victims of prejudice or a rigged system. They were victims of greed, vanity, and economic fantasy. They wanted dedicated fans, many who are fighting to pay rent and buy groceries, to finance a luxury motor coach and $1 million estate. And when this GoFundMe came online, brought quietly to a few pro-Kody and Robyn Facebook groups, they likely believed it might well work. They probably envisioned a tsunami of donations flooding in from committed fans, still holding on to their victimhood story. Sitting back, waiting for the money to come. They had no idea an online storm was going to break because they'd missed one deadly truth. The internet never forgets. The first sign of warning wasn't the absence of donations. It was the remarks that started surfacing. To start, they were just sarcastic one-liners. Rebuild. What? The family you ruined, or perhaps sell a few of those precious moments dolls. Robyn. Others indicated the inanity of common, everyday expenses in a house worth $1 million. Try renting out a room instead. And then it got serious. A fan from the Sister Wives community released a link. A Zillow listing of their Flagstaff estate, with estimated worth and humongous mortgage. That one link opened the floodgates. The internet had been officially engaged. The Sister Wives Detective Agency, an informal but formidable network of fans who are experts at public records and have long memories, went into action. In mere hours, the GoFundMe comment thread no longer was a space for sympathy. It became a living repository of Kody and Robyn's hypocrisy. One posted an article from long ago in which Kody proudly bragged about being financially secure after their move to Flagstaff. Another shared a Reddit deep dive complete with spreadsheets detailing how much money the Browns had raked in from TLC. Well into the millions. And then the memes. There were dozens of them. Robyn's tearful face captioned, "My tears won't pay the mortgage." Kody, with his wild hair blowing about, marked, "Need money to power my air guitar aspirations." A picture of the mountain of moving boxes in Robyn's garage, plastered with, "Every box has a poor financial choice inside." What was meant to be a low-key request for money from a dwindling base of support had gone viral. Gossip bloggers took it up. Mainstream media ran scathing pieces. On Twitter, #FundTheFrauds frauds became a trending hashtag, along with Kody Brown's name. This was not a failed fundraiser, it was an all-out public spectacle. Kody and Robyn, desperate to dictate their narrative, had let loose a beast who was now telling a far more accurate one. The story of their greed, their deceit, and their appalling lack of self-awareness. And what about the rest of the Browns? Officially, nothing. Unofficially, the tone was exquisite. Christine put up a bright Instagram photo of herself and David on holiday with the following message: "So thankful for a life filled with true happiness and financial camaraderie." Hashtags, #blessed, #hard work pays off, #true love. Not a word about the GoFundMe. But everyone knew perfectly well what she was getting at. Janelle, being the practical one, posted an Instagram story from her greenhouse, boasting of her vegetables with the text on top, "Building real, sustainable wealth, one tomato at a time." Self-sufficient, off-grid goals, smart choices. Another stark difference from Kody and Robyn's online begging. Even Meri got into the act with one of her signature enigmatic statements: "The universe will always reveal the truth." You can't hide beneath a victim mask for very long. The bill always comes due. And then Gwen, never hesitant to call out her dad. She reportedly laughed for 2 solid minutes on a Patreon livestream, before telling him, "Yeah, I saw it. And no, I am not donating. My mom needs that money for her own retirement. The one she earned." This was the final backlash. They weren't ridiculed by strangers. They were shaded by their own kin. The very individuals they drove away were doing better, posting photos of stability and happiness, pointing to the stark contrast against Kody and Robyn's self-imposed cage of poverty and despair. In the meantime, pressure was mounting, not just on them but on GoFundMe itself. The site is adamant about preventing fraud and deceptive campaigns, and now it had become the internet's go-to place to dunk on the Browns. Thousands of people flagged the fundraiser, using evidence mounting in the comments as proof of deception. Kody and Robyn, or their so-called friend, tried to fight back. They began deleting critical comments, but it was a losing battle. For every one erased, 100 new ones appeared. Then came their defensive update. Thank you to the few real supporters who have contributed. To the rest of you, your anger is evidence of the persecution that we endure. The things being posted here as lies are taken out of context by resentful folks who would like to see our family fail. This is a spiritual war, and we will not be defeated by online bullies. Please, open your hearts. That was their battle cry, a spiritual war. They rebranded their financial irresponsibility as a struggle against dark powers. It was a desperate gamble, and it backfired right away. Calling the public bullies for calling them out on hypocrisy only poured gasoline on the flames. The ridicule escalated. Donations stalled, and the total stopped at a paltry few $100s. They were stuck. Removing the page themselves would have been surrender, but leaving it up meant suffering a constant, global embarrassment. For someone like Kody Brown, who lives by control, this was the ultimate revenge. The end was near. GoFundMe's integrity team had intervened. The clicks, the comments, the media attention. It was too big to ignore. The clock was ticking on what had become the most cringe-worthy grift in reality television history. And in part 2 of our investigation, we'll show how it all collapsed, with exclusive insider details of the fallout. And the next rumored scheme from Kody and Robyn. A plan so reckless, it makes this GoFundMe look almost clever. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Reality Recap. We've just covered the launch and the brutal backlash against Kody and Robyn Brown's Help, a Patriarch Rebuild GoFundMe. We dismantled the deceitful language, uncovered insider speculations on a covert luxury RV and impending foreclosure, and saw both the internet and their own relatives turn against them in poetic online justice. But the embarrassment did not stop at fundraising failure. It was the way the campaign was taken away from them that finished them off. Here is the scene. The page had been live for about 72 hours in internet time. That's an eternity. It had become a cultural spectacle, a cautionary tale of how not to ask for money when you've squandered every ounce of goodwill. The page itself was chaos. Its comment section had transformed into a curated archive of Kody and Robyn's failures, complete with citations. Fans linked LLC filings showing Dabsark Entertainment had been dissolved. Property records emerged, revealing gains from the Las Vegas houses they coerced the other wives to divest. Screenshots of Robyn's former Pinterest boards were shared, riddled with tone-deaf luxury pins. The sister wives' detective agency dug up dirt, no stone left unturned. These weren't judgments, they were facts, cold and verifiable, dismantling the Browns' persecution narrative. For GoFundMe's corporate headquarters, this was a nightmare. Their platform, intended for cancer treatments, house fires, and actual emergencies, was now highlighted as a money trough for reality television's most notorious couple and their McMansion. The optics were terrible. It was 10 a.m. Pacific on day 3 when the first formal indication of trouble emerged. The donate button grayed out. The page remained up, the paltry sum raised and thousands of snarky comments intact, but nobody could contribute. The campaign was suspended pending audit. For Robyn and Kody, it was probably pure panic. The machine had failed. Control was lost. An insider confirms that Robyn descended into a meltdown, reportedly inundating GoFundMe customer service calls, asking why. She reportedly screamed freedom of speech and religious persecution using the same co-opted language from the campaign on an unsuspecting customer service rep. Kody's response was otherwise blind fury. Sources say he paced their gilded living room, yelling that this was Christine's doing. In his head, she had orchestrated the fall, leveraging her recent fame to galvanize a mob against him. To him, it simply couldn't be because of his own pride and stupidity. No, it had to be some kind of conspiracy engineered by his faithless ex-wives. For 6 stressful hours, the campaign hung in suspense, a digital limbo. The internet refreshed every few seconds, anticipating the coup de guerre fates. And then, at 4:15 p.m., it was deleted. Erased. The page was gone, with an innocuous error message in its place. The entire shameful episode had been digitally orchestrated. A few minutes later, GoFundMe released a bland but damning statement to the media, who had been calling for comment. GoFundMe's mission is to enable people to help people. We are dedicated to keeping the trust of our community. All campaigns are held to a review of our terms of service. Following a thorough investigation, the campaign, Help a Patriotic Rebuild, was taken down for terms of service violation involving misleading or dishonest statements. All contributions to it were refunded in entirety. Let's leave it there with that terminology, misleading or dishonest statements. That is corporate speak for fraud. The campaign wasn't eliminated because it was unpopular. It was eliminated because the internet had definitively, without any shadow of doubt, shown that its whole premise rested on a lie. Kody and Robyn weren't just humiliated, they were officially branded as liars by the very website they had attempted to scam. And that last sentence, all donations will be refunded in full, was the nasty kicker. That pathetic $275, or whatever tiny amount they had cobbled together from a handful of die-hard fans, was taken back. Their overall take from this embarrassing experience, a crisp, round zero. This was not merely a failed plot. It was a public destruction of their credibility, the online equivalent of being put in the town stocks and having rotten fruit hurled at you. No spin could help it. No artful cut to blame. Their own words, their own desperate appeal, had been thrown out into the world, and the world not only rejected it, but checked it to embers. There was no way back to sympathy. So what does the narcissist do following such a complete public embarrassment? Think, learn, apologize? Naturally not, they double down. For roughly a week, Kody and Robyn went silent. Their social media remained inactive. No cameos were being filmed. Our sources in Flagstaff told us that they isolated themselves, with anger and paranoia burning within them, lashing at each other. The RV dream was over. The threat of foreclosure on their home loomed larger than ever. And their GoFundMe, merely their Hail Mary attempt, had blown up in their faces. Tensions within the Shiro Chateau reached a boiling point. According to our source, Robyn allegedly screamed at Kody about the condescending language used in the GoFundMe appeal. "I told you not to refer to yourself as a patriarch," she purportedly shouted. "It makes you sound like a cult leader." Kody, meanwhile, accused Robyn of their economic disaster. The giant house, the porcelain dolls, her incessant demands for more. The vision of the devoted wife and the robust patriarch was crumbling under duress. After simmering in that poisonous silence for a week, they decided that they had to retaliate. They had to reclaim the narrative. How? TLC kept itself at arm's length. The mainstream media ridiculed them. They didn't have a stage, so they created one. They started a YouTube channel. Only a week after their GoFundMe account was suspended for fraud, they posted a 45-minute video shot on a wobbly iPhone balanced on their living room mantel. With poor lighting, Kody and Robyn sat on their tan couch, seeming exhausted and livid. It was one of the most insane rants ever put up. We won't subject you to the whole thing, but let's pick out the highlights. Kody burst open, eyes afire, emanating a frantic, trapped energy. For 20 minutes, he blathered, never once mentioning the RV or the revealed financial information. Rather, he talked in general paranoid language of spiritual warfare, adversaries, and the so-called deep state of reality television. He attempted to position himself as a muzzled truth teller, a dissident who was being persecuted by the system, instead of a broke former reality television star with questionable judgment. Then, it was Robyn's turn. And if you were hoping that she would soothe the mood, forget it. She leaned harder than ever into her weeping victim routine. This time with venom. "I just do not get how people can be so mean," she sobbed. "We are good people, we love our kids. We've dedicated our lives to this faith, this family. And for what? To be ridiculed, to have our house threatened. All I wanted was a huge, happy family. I wanted my sister wives. I mourn that loss every day. But they left. They made the choice to leave. And now they get to watch us sink and laugh." She continued, "The money we requested was to keep our children safe, and people made a joke of it. My children are not a joke. It was a masterclass in deflection and manipulation. Robyn again attempted to position herself as the tragic martyr, the one who loved family more than anything, and vilify Christine, Janelle, and Meri as villains who were taking pleasure in her children's misery. It was sickeningly transparent. The YouTube video was a complete failure. The like-to-dislike ratio went through the roof, and the comments were even more brutal than the GoFundMe backlash, as this time the negativity directly hit her platform while widely shared. It was only shared as evidence of their delusion. Today, it has over 1 million views, but they are all tainted with ridicule. They have not posted since then. What they created for themselves as a personal stage soon became yet another online pillory. So, where are they really now? The YouTube experiment failed. The GoFundMe was an historic failure. The foreclosure countdown still ticks on. They have alienated family, networks, and the public as well. It appears they have finally reached actual rock bottom. But we have one final exclusive theory to share with you, perhaps the most desperate of all. With no other options available, rumors now indicate that Kody and Robyn are getting ready for a last-ditch effort. Apparently, they're negotiating with a publishing company. Not a big name, but a tiny independent house that deals in salacious tell. All books, their strategy. To pen a book, the prospective working title, Patriarchy Lost, How a Godly Family Was Sacrificed for Reality Television Ratings. It is presented as their final play, a burnt earth tell. All meant to put to rest all grievances. Sources say the offer guarantees to reveal Christine's departure, characterized as a midlife crisis and a heart affair. It is said to detail Janelle's so-called transgressions and years of financial control. And it will, allegedly, go directly after Meri, depicting her as unstable and manipulative from the beginning. Their objective is to position themselves as the real heroes of the tale, the sole two who held onto integrity while all others scampered away. They will call names, warp timelines, and burn down every remaining bridge for a speedy advance check. But more than cash, the book would be about establishing their take on history as the absolute account. A desperate gamble, a tell. All would make some money, but at the cost of eliminating once and for all any chance of reconciliation with the rest of the family. It would be tantamount to a declaration of war, even on their own children, many of whom are otherwise fiercely devoted to their mothers. Will it happen? We cannot guarantee it, but the rumor mill rolls on. They are desperate, broke, and cornered. And desperate people do desperate things. The GoFundMe sham was not only a failure, it was a digital spectacle of humiliation, exposing just who Kody and Robyn Brown have become. Two isolated individuals trapped in a McMansion of their own creation, unable to confront the reality that they wrote their own defeat. They did not merely lose their family, they lost their sense of reality. And then they attempted to foist the bill for their delusions on the public. The reaction was immediate and unequivocal, not for sale. The GoFundMe wasn't just shut down. It was a referendum on their whole brand, and they lost broadly. No money, no platform, no public sympathy. All they still have left is each other, and even that, sources indicate, is beginning to fray. That final, pitiful scheme was never ever about money. It was about holding on to viability. And instead, all it entailed was cementing their status as the ultimate joke punchline. And there you have it, Sister Wives cast. The ascent and epic downfall of the Brown family GoFundMe, from its brazen outset to the merciless online teardown to the surreal aftermath. Now it is your turn. Do you believe our insider gossip regarding the luxury RV? Do you think they're really going to release this scorched earth tell-all? And what do you see happening to them in the end? Will the house be lost? Will they ever experience the full wrath of their own actions? Let us know all your thoughts in the comments below. This has been one of the craziest sagas we've ever uncovered. And I know you all have some insights to share. Thanks for hanging in there with me for this deep dive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you are prepared for our next investigation. Until then, stay smart, stay savvy, and never give your money to a patriarch's rebuilding fund.